you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There are these things better than I do. That's when the show begins. As always, for 16 years, 2,800 episodes, we bring in the Chris Voss Show because we're crazy. We're crazy for our audience and making them better, smarter, and bringing the most amazing authors and journeys and stories of life to the show so that you can make your lives better. Because if you want a podcast that makes your life worse, we're not it, clearly. But, you know, maybe the reason you want a worse podcast and to make your life worse is because you just need help. And so we've got authors and psychiatrists and people on the show that can help you with that. And then you won't want the bad stuff anymore. It's kind of like eating at McDonald's. You know, if you eat some healthy food, you might feel better. Anyway, guys, go to Goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and Facebook.com/Chris Voss. Today we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about his book and his insights in business and all that good stuff. His latest book to come out is called 6 Pillars of Effective Leadership, a Roadmap to Success. Jim Carlough joins us in the show. We're going to talk to him about his book, his insights, and all that good stuff so we can know more about how to be better leaders. And whether you're a parent or whether you're a businessman, you're a leader. Or maybe your teenager's leader if you're not doing the parenting right. Jim Carlough is the kind of person who makes leadership feel simple, real, and even fun. With over 30 years of experience guiding people in business and life, he has a natural way of helping others see the best in themselves. Jim believes leaders aren't born. They're built through honesty, growth, and the small choices we make every day. The 6 Pillars of Effective Leadership captures Jim's voice perfectly, clear, inspiring, and down to earth. Reading it feels like less like flipping through a book and more like sitting down with a mentor who believes in you and knows how to bring out your best. And that's why we have people like him on the show. Welcome to the show, Jim. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm really excited to be here, Chris. I've been looking forward to this since last week. And when one of the reminders came out, and I kept thinking about your enthusiasm and how I'm going to keep up with my enthusiasm at the same time. But I don't think we're going to have any trouble with that today.
We're just going to bounce off each other with a bunch of caffeine. We were joking earlier in the show that you have some Italian in you, and I'm a big espresso lover. So hopefully we've all had our shot today of espresso.
Ironically, I don't like the smell of coffee.
Really? Wow. Who heard you on the Italian chart there, buddy?
Italians used to all come to our house to congregate, and they all smoked and drank coffee.
Oh.
And the house always smelled like old cigarettes and coffee, and I just never liked the smell of
that anchor. Yeah. You know, I can't blame you, but I used to hate coffee too until I got old, and then I realized why senior citizens like me drink it. Anyway, we're trying to stay alive. And plus it's great poop juice for the morning. I don't know what that means. Jim, let's get into your .coms. Where do we find you on the internet, sir?
Very easy. It's www.jimcarlough, all squeezed together, no period in between or _.com.
So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside your book?
So I've been mentoring people for over 25 years, and 85% of all leaders are what I call accidental leaders. They never intended to be a manager or a leader, but somebody quit. And some executive decided they're going to go in and pick out somebody who's technically proficient in that area and make them a manager or a leader. Mm-hmm. And they put them in this position, and then they do not give them any help. They don't give them a roadmap to follow. And 18 months later, they start to fail, and they don't understand why their people are quitting. And it's all because they lack this roadmap. So when I sat back 2 years ago thinking about what will I do when I retire, I have 2 choices. I can either do something I love, or I can sit around and wait for my wife to give me a list every day of all the crap I need to do around the house that I really don't want to do. So I wrote the book, and I went back and I looked through all the people that I had mentored and made a list of all of the characteristics that they struggled with when they first became a leader. And I narrowed that list down to 6 core principles or characteristics that I think every leader has to have. And what's interesting is they don't teach this at Harvard. They don't teach it at Yale. They don't teach it at any of the business schools. It's more emotional intelligence than anything.
Really?
And it's not theory. And so we're going to dive into that today and hopefully charge up some people who are afraid to take that step into leadership because they believe that oldest lie in business is that leaders are born leaders. And that's totally untrue.
Yeah. And we talked about this a lot on the show. So many people in leadership and management, they just get thrown into it sometimes. They go, hey, your numbers are good. You should probably manage people. And sometimes they're performance people, like salespeople, don't make great managers, or they have to be retrained heavily. I don't know. The brain can really pull it. I can. Yeah, never mind. Anyway, it's amazing how many companies don't do leadership training. They just promote people and go, I hope you can figure out how to work with people and manage them. Good luck.
Actually, what they do is they focus on the wrong thing in their training programs. They don't focus on, I've only worked for one company in my career that had a true leadership development program. It taught you everything from reading financials to dealing with people to doing reviews. Only one company in my entire career. What they do mostly is they bring in people to teach you how to delegate, or they teach you in a 2-day webinar workshop how to prioritize things better. They do spot things that the people forget 3 days later. They don't do interactive things that get them brain thinking and get them talking to each other and learning how to really manage and deal with people.
Yeah. And you talk about emotional intelligence. Tell us about this. I think we've kind of seen this turn from the old sort of Peter Drucker, carrot stick sort of old style management of do what we say or we fire you, to this better emotional connection we have to try and connect with people and have the deeper sort of connection to our employees. Not too deep, because HR says we can't do that anymore. But, touching the hearts and minds of people, inspiring them, letting them know we care, having empathy, integrity, these sort of things we want to talk about today. Talk to us about how that unfolds and why we're seeing more of it in management. And is this the new thing, really? We have to be nice to people?
To me, it's not so much about being nice. So if we talk about integrity, which to me, integrity is non-negotiable. I think over the last 30 years, and I'm not trying to make a political statement of current times, but over the last 30 years, I've seen businesses in this country and the government in this country and around the world start to migrate away from integrity. Our world leaders used to talk more pleasantly about each other and with each other. And that starts at the top and works its way down through business. In the 90s, we had the dot-com crashes of all the fake software products that were out there. And in 2008, we had the crisis from the residential housing market and those different things. All of those things go back to organizations that lacked integrity. And to me, it's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you when it first hit me like a brick. I'm going to give my age away here. I fear that I can trust you and you won't put it out on a billboard. But the year I graduated college was 1983. That same year, I ran for a local political office in the tiny town I grew up in of 12,000 people, and I won. And about 3 weeks later, I get a call from the city manager who says to me, do you have time to come spend an hour? I would like to talk to you. And I said, certainly. The election was 2 weeks ago. I wasn't sworn in yet. I could certainly spare the time. So I sat down with him and we started chatting. He said, look, very impressed with your win. Knew you were going to win. You got my vote. He could have been lying. Who knows? But he said, I want you to do me one favor. And he said, and here's what I want you to do. Every night when you lay down, before you close your eyes to go to sleep, I want you to ask yourself one question. I said, okay. He said, that question is, did I do anything today for my own personal self-benefit that was at the expense of another individual, group of individuals, or organization? He went on to say, if you answer yes to that question, you have to immediately do two things. Figure out how to unwind it and figure out how to never do it again. And that hit me like a brick. And I will tell you that ever since that day in 1983, I have asked myself that question every single night, and I've never answered yes. And to me, integrity is non-negotiable because the other things that I teach will not be believed if the leader can't be trusted. If the leader is not operating with transparency and integrity, they won't create a following. And they won't be able to show, if an opportunity presents itself to show sympathy or empathy or compassion, it won't be believed. And today, more than ever, employees are looking for psychological safety in the workplace. And if you've got a leader that doesn't act with integrity, employee base, you guaranteed, are not psychologically safe, and they're not long-term employees.
It's I forget what the stats are, but the number one people usually leave a company is, and I forget what percentage it is, but the number one reason people leave is usually over poor management, poor leadership.
There was actually a true study done by the Society of Human Resource Managers 2 years ago, and they listed the top 10 reasons why people left their organizations voluntarily. These are not the people that were disciplined out because they didn't perform, but the people who decided to leave on their own. 8 of the 10 reasons people left the company were directly related to the leader.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty massive. And these are people that you, as a company, you spend a lot of money, time, and effort to not only interview, attract to your company. Hiring costs are expensive as all get out.
They did another study on the cost to replace employees. And the cost to replace an employee who's just quit can range between 100% and 300% of the salary you were paying them. And the reason is you've got lost productivity for 3 to 6 months. You've got recruiting costs. You've got hiring costs. You have training costs, and it all adds up. And just think about it. If you have 500 employees and you have 10% attrition and somebody's getting paid $100,000 a year and it's going to cost you 200% to replace them, you're talking $10 million in profit out the window.
Wow. That is huge.
It is huge. It's very huge. So if we have to change leadership so that we can stop the bleeding, the bottom line, because of the turnover. And that's really what it's become. And it is bleeding.
Yeah. And you lose good people. And a lot of good people who do leave, they'll stay with the abuse for a long time of a poor manager. But, eventually they're just going to one day say, hey, I have enough of this. I'm done. And you lose good people. And usually those are the people that are replaceable. The people who don't care about whether management's bad or good are usually the people probably watching YouTube videos or TikTok videos in their booth all day long, not doing anything. Seen those movies. Now, I think Gen Z and millennials kind of brought about this more emotional intelligence being brought to the workplace, right? And to try and create, instead of the carrot and the stick effect, an effect of believing in something, in a cause, that they're not just doing work for a paycheck, that maybe, that you're doing something good for the environment or good for the world. You're helping people. Most people want to feel like they're doing something that's, just beyond, taking a paycheck. And so a lot of that got incurred into the management styles, leadership styles, at least. And it seems like it's still going, it's the, You've got to have empathy now. You've got to have emotional intelligence now. You can't just be barking orders people and telling them you're going to fire them because they're just like, well, I'll just quit.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. Now, the 6 pillars that you talk about in your book, do we want to touch on what the 6 are? Can we tease those out, or maybe a couple of them?
We can. And then we'll talk about a couple of them. So we already talked about integrity. Then we have compassion and empathy. Then we have focus and stability. And then the last one is humor. Now, I want to be careful with the humor part. Humor strategically used, not being the comedian at the water cooler every morning at 10 a.m. So when I use humor strategically to kick off a meeting to get people to be relaxed. I use it to change direction of meetings if people are getting off topic or off agenda. And I use it to diffuse conflict. And the humor today, we also have to be sensitive about, because we live in a hypersensitive environment or world. So it's usually self-deprecating humor of something funny or stupid that I can laugh about today that I maybe not laughed at when it happened 10 or 15 years ago. But just because you can't comment on somebody's hair color or lack of hair, or I mean, you just can't. You're going to you'll end up in HR in a heartbeat. That because people are that sensitive. Yeah. But I use it in those strategic situations where it allows me to change the paradigm. It also allows people to see that I'm human. Yeah. Because especially if I'm talking about things that I screwed up, they know that, hey, it's going to be okay to make a mistake. Jim told us one day he made a mistake. And so anyway, that's humor. Let's talk. So people often get empathy and compassion confused. So let's talk about those 2 pillars for a second. Okay. So compassion is being able to show concern to an employee or to someone on your team who's having difficulty with something, either in their life or at work or whatever. But it's showing that you care. It's not that you can solve it. With empathy, you can put yourself in that person's shoes and try to help them through it and solve it. I'll give you an example. Back in the early 2000s, I worked for a company called Perot Systems, which was started by Ross Perot himself. Worked for them for nearly a decade. And they were the only company that had a true leadership development program.
Oh, really?
Yes, a true leadership development. And a lot of what I do today in my management style came out of Perot Systems.
Oh, wow.
But let's talk about empathy. I know you'll remember, some of your audience probably doesn't, but back in the 90s, before there was a mouse connected to your computer, the screens were green. It was green screen technology. They called it MS-DOS or whatever it was called at the time. And we at Perot Systems made claim systems for health insurance companies. And we'd come out in 2000 with Windows-based products. I had a team of green screen technologists. I had engineers, customer support people, help desk, etc. They were located in California. And we had made a corporate decision that we were going to sunset the green screen technology. So we knew we had 36 customers running that green screen technology. So I had to deliver a message to them that says their job's going away, but I can't afford for you to walk out the door tomorrow, because it's going to take us 3 years at minimum to convert all of these customers.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't know what to tell them. I struggled because I had to protect the fact that we had to support these businesses until they could. And I didn't control the implementation of them, but I had to make sure I had people to support them. Yeah. So I wrestled with it. I called a mentor of mine because I'm very big on mentoring. And I said, hey, what do I do? And he said, good luck. When you figure it out, let me know so I can use it. And that's a true story. And I really wrestled with it until I sat back and I said, what would I want my boss to tell me? So I met with the team and I made them 3 promises. The first promise I made to them was that if they wanted to learn the new technology, that we would make available to them during the workday the training programs so that when it was time for them to leave, they could just easily go over to the new department and start working on the new platform. But I didn't stop there. I made a second promise. The second promise was, if anyone on the team wanted to stay with the company, but wanted to go into a different role in the company, I would do my best to help them find that role, personally help them find that role, and ensure that it met their professional qualifications and the financials that their family had come used to receiving. Then I made a third promise. The third promise was, if you decide that you don't want to stay here, I will help you find a job on the outside that fits your professional skill set and fits your family financial needs. Made those three comments. An amazing thing happened. Nobody left before it was their time, and only one person left. The rest stayed with the organization. But 2 years into this, I get a phone call from HR. And I was like, okay. And they said, we want to come down and talk to you. And I said, okay. Nobody likes HR coming to talk to them, but they didn't have an empty box and my boss wasn't with them. So I felt pretty safe that it's going to be an interesting conversation. So they sat down and they said, we want to talk to you about your group in California. And I said, okay. And they said, do you remember 60 days ago, we did an employee satisfaction survey? I said, yeah. And I said, so how bad is it? And they said, that's the thing. Those 25 employees are the happiest employees in our entire company, and they're losing their jobs. And we have over 20,000 employees. What are you doing to keep them so happy about being here? And I told them the three things that I promised them. And the one HR person turned to me and she said, so in essence, you took all the worry away from them. And I was like, I guess I did. I showed them I had their back. They were so impressed by that from that point forward, whenever we downsized a department, they followed the protocol that I had done with those people, with that group of 25 people. And I never expected the second to happen. I would have expected them to be blasting the company for getting rid of them, or blasting the company for doing away with this product that they were working on for so many years. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So we accomplished our goal, kept everybody on board,
Wow.
and then ultimately got a second bonus out of it by having them be the happiest ones in the company.
Nice. I mean, that's a wonderful story, man. And do you want to? I think one of the 6 pillars was humor, right?
Humor.
And then do we hit the other 5? I'm not sure if the other 5
we didn't hit focus and stability.
Okay.
So stability is showing up the same way every day as a leader, whether it's a good day or a bad day. If you're the type of leader that flies off the handle during stress or conflict, you're not stable. And your employees, to feel psychologically safe, need to see the stability. And that includes when the garbage can's on fire and not screaming and making everybody panic. Yeah. You have to maintain the same persona that you do every other day. And that is so critical for producing high-performing teams and teams that are extremely loyal to you and the cause, and that are always going to be there and have the leader's back as much as the leader has their back.
Yeah, because they know if they don't have your back, then, what's the point, right?
Correct.
I've had leaders that they don't have your back, and if you make a mistake, they'll throw you under the bus and blame you, even though maybe they didn't communicate as a leader, properly, whatever.
So I once knew of a leader who, as CEO, every couple of years, he replaced the direct reports right underneath him. And I named that the moving of the chairs on the Titanic, because you can only move those chairs so many times before the board realizes it's not the people, it's the leader. And so the Titanic is still going to sink. It just may take a little bit longer to take on the water.
Oh.
I knew of another leader, and then we'll talk about focus. I knew another leader that didn't like to interact with employees. and would park their car on the side of the building, go in a private entrance, take the freight elevator up to their office at the executive floor, which was under lock and key that nobody could get into anyway, without permission or without being buzzed in, and would not take the time to interact with anybody.
Yeah.
That's not leadership.
Yeah. There was somebody, I think last week or the week before on the show that had a story that kind of struck me. Was the new CEO came in to a company, and he came and was walking the floor of the front line and, the manufacturing facility. And he had a team of security and advisors with him. And like, they just talked amongst themselves. They didn't shake hands. They didn't talk to anybody. They didn't engage with anybody. And it had like security. So you couldn't go up to him and be like, "Hey, how's it going, sir?" And pinned to the ground or something.
You talk about being impersonal.
Totally. And then I've watched, I remember watching a video that always sticks in my head. I think it was the CEO of HP, if I have it right. And every day he would walk all the different levels of his company and do what I call touching hearts and minds. HR says I can't say touching anymore. But, that's what it is. You're shaking hands, you're patting people on the back. Good job. Checking in with them. Hey, how's the home life? How's the kids and wife? If their home lives are fucked up and they're having trouble in their home lives, they're not going to be able to perform well at work, especially if they're salespeople. And, watching him go through the levels of his management, not just sitting in his boardroom every day, but going through, all the way down to the front line, shaking people. He goes down the lobby, shakes people's hands and meets people and asks, how are we doing? Okay. How can we serve you better? And, that's the sort of connection I think people want nowadays.
I totally agree. In fact, I'll tell you a story about a young woman named Kathy. Kathy used to be the janitor of a floor that I worked on. And she would come through twice a day, usually at 10 and 2, to clean out the garbage cans, to clean up the kitchen, and to put things away and tidy it up. Because people would just put glasses and plates on the counter, and she'd have to take care of them and put them in the dishwasher. And it really bothered me that nobody really ever interacted with her except me. And I was always talking to her. Whenever she was on the floor, she'd stop in and say hello. So one day I got the great idea of, I want to teach everybody a lesson that Kathy is part of our team. So it was about 9:45. I knew she'd be up in about 15 minutes. So I sent an email to everybody on the floor. I said, the first person who can come to me and tell me the name of the person who takes out our trash and cleans up after every one of us in the kitchen twice a day, I will give a $50 Starbucks gift card to.
Oh, wow.
And then I left my office and I just stood and watched. And about 5 minutes later, heads started popping up over the walls of the cubicles. Kathy walks in, and it was like a herd of cattle trampling to chase her down to find out her name. Mm-hmm. Now, I made a big mistake. I didn't tell Kathy what I was doing, and I didn't tell Kathy's boss what I was doing, and it scared the bejeebies out of her. She ran out off the floor, got in the elevator, went down and went to her boss's office and said she nearly got run over and attacked. Her boss called me and said, "What the hell are you doing?" And I said, "I guess I forgot to tell you and Kathy what I was doing, but I was trying to teach my team a lesson. Mm-hmm. That Kathy is part of this team. And that they need to know who she is because she's picking up after them." What's interesting is after that exercise, people started taking better care of the kitchen, so there was less for Kathy to do. They would wash their glass out and put it in the dishwasher. They would rinse their plate and put it in the dishwasher. They didn't leave it for her like they had been doing. So it was a bonus achievement, and didn't expect that, but it actually was a win-win for all of us.
Win-win. That's what everyone's looking for these days. People can check that out in your book, The 6 Pillars of Effective Leadership. Let's talk about some of the offerings you have on your website that you do for people. I know at one point we were talking before the show about book giveaway. Do we want to plug that now?
We can plug that now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'd like to give away a few books and like to hear what people think of the episode. And we're going to figure out how to do it, but we're going to either post a couple of codes but it'll all be based on people who write a comment on this show's social media posts of LinkedIn or YouTube. LinkedIn or YouTube, was that it, Chris?
Yeah.
LinkedIn or YouTube, just make a comment about this episode and we'll get you either a code for Amazon to get the book for free, or I will mail you a copy of the book that'll be autographed. So look for that in the show notes.
I love autographed books. They're pretty awesome. So now let's get into some of the offerings. What do you do there on your website? How do you help people? Who are your clients? Who qualifies to work with you, et cetera, et cetera?
So there's two separate client bases. One is I do workshops for corporations. So if a corporation wants to come in and start to change the mindset of the leader, I call it the leadership identity transformation. We go in for 3 days and we take them through what I call the Executive Accelerator program to change their mindset and to help them gain a leadership identity. I offer the same thing in cohorts of groups of people of 10 to 15, where we meet once a week for 8 to 12 weeks over Zoom and do the exact same program that we do for corporations. So if you're a leader out there and you want to get involved in one of those cohorts, I'd be more than happy to have you join us. Just go to my website, send me a note and say, hey, how do I get on the list to join one of your cohorts? And we put you through the program. I guarantee that you'll see a difference in yourself and your leadership style, and people will notice it within 14 days of starting.
Wow. That's quite the promise there.
It is a promise. Here's the basis for it. Today in the United States, voluntary attrition ranges between 10 and 15%. My historical voluntary attrition rate, is never been over 5%. So I can tell a corporation, I can cut your attrition rate in half.
Wow. That's powerful.
Very powerful.
Yeah. Quit the bleed, especially if the good people. I mean, the bad people can go.
The bad people.
But but usually good people are driven away because they're the ones most offended by the stuff. The bad people are usually slumming it, like you said, at work or something. So they're just like, yeah, whatever. I hate this job. I hate my boss. But what do the kids call it? The quiet quitting. Do you ever hear about that?
Quiet quitting.
Yeah.
They basically checked out, but they're still sitting at their desk.
Taking a paycheck.
Taking a paycheck.
Wow, sounds like my first 10 wives. Anyway, just joking. We change the number every show. People always come up to me and they're like, how many times have you been married? Because it's 8 and then 7 and it's 5 and I haven't. That's the joke. Anyway, I have to explain some of the jokes because they're fairly complex. Anyway, that or they're just bad. When people want to work with you, how do they reach out to you? How do you do initial calls? How do they find out if you're a fit?
So the initial thing is just to reach out to me via my website. I'll send you a link to my calendar. We pick a time that's convenient for you that works on my calendar, and we'll chat about what you want to achieve, what you're striving for. And if you're a corporation, we'll talk about the corporate program. And if you're or HR director or executive at a company, if you're an individual and you want to get involved in the cohort, I'll talk you through what it entails and the amount of work effort you'll have. It's not significant, but there is homework after each session so that you retain the information for the next week. Because what we don't want to take you through the program and not have you implementing it as we go, and then you're left questioning, what did I just go through, because I didn't do any exercises or anything to remember it. And that's where we go wrong today when we do these spot training things on, do these 2 habits every day and you're going to be successful.
And you've got on the website, you've got several different features you offer here of leadership excellence, programs and coaching. You've got a leadership confidence kit, mini ebook leadership series, 6 pillars for executive accelerator. It looks like another one that's a group program and then one-on-one coaching, corporate programs as well, and a free consultation. It says right here at the bottom.
Yes, there's some free assets that I encourage people to download. They're free. Take advantage of them. I could charge for some of them, but some of them are they're good enough to help a broader audience. So I made them free of charge.
What a deal. You can go to the website, get free of charge, and then if you guys tag the link, you might be able to get an autographed book. I love it. All the good stuff. Anything more we want to talk about on the show before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. I think we've covered everything, Chris.
Oh, yeah, we did. Not everything. People got to buy the book and read it. We just teased you people, so go buy the book.
It's actually an easy book. It's an easy book to read, and here's what you'll get in the book. So this is important. There's no theory in the book. Most leadership books you read today have a whole bunch of theory and garbage in it. My book is concise. It's 174 pages. We talk about each pillar. We talk about how to implement it. And I also give you something else. I give you another world leader or world business person or historical figure who used that pillar in their management style. Mm-hmm. So in the book, there's Nelson Mandela. There's really? Abraham Lincoln. Mm-hmm. There's Satya Nadella, who is chairman of Microsoft, and what pillars they were aligned with. And so it's not just me saying these are important. There are other leaders actually using these same characteristics.
I mean, what works and what has shown success is, really important. Yeah. So give us your .coms and where people can pick up a free book or autograph book, wherever, as we go out.
All right. The best way to get a hold of me is my website, jim@jimcarlough.com if you want to email me, or just www.jimcarlough.com. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of me. My phone number is on the website. You can also call or text me. So I'm easy to get a hold of. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I don't post every day, but I do post a lot. So if you follow me on those channels, you'll get leadership concepts and stuff that I'm promoting periodically throughout the year and things of that nature. And I'm planning to introduce a newsletter in the next couple of months. That's been on my list, but I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Get that newsletter going there. Jim, it's been wonderful to have you on. Very fun and very insightful, and hopefully we've learned a lot here. If not, folks, go back and listen to the show over and over again until you can repeat every word for word. Just do that on 2,800 shows. So thank you very much, Jim. We appreciate it. And thanks, Ernest, for tuning in. Go to pick up his book wherever fine books are sold. It's called The 6 Pillars of Effective Leadership, a Roadmap to Success, out December 17th, 2024. Thanks, Ernest, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. Let's see, facebook.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, great show, Jim. So there was